Try that again. Welcome everybody. I'd like to invite you to the City of Sonoma's Design Review Historic Preservation Committee. Today's date is December 21st. It is 6 p.m. First off, I'd like to start the meeting with a little bit of interest. This is a hybrid meeting. We're meeting in person and you're able to attend by Zoom. If you're a Zoom attendee, the meeting ID is 980-299-59654. But we're just going to go forward as an in-person meeting tonight. I'd like to start with a roll call. So I'd like to start with the commissioners. Let's start with Commissioner Burt. Vice Chair Burt.
Here.
Commissioner Marr.
Here.
Commissioner Randolph.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Okay.
And Commissioner Jerome.
Oh, it's Commissioner Jerome. Thank you. Okay, I'd like to ask if there are any new comments from the public.
Yes, are there any comments from the public that are not appearing on the agenda?
That would be the comments from the public not on the agenda.
Right. I don't see anyone coming to the podium, and there's no one from Zoom raising their hand.
Okay. I'd like to review the agenda and create a motion to approve the agenda. Does somebody like to create a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion is approved. Staff, is there any late correspondence?
Let me take a roll call vote for that.
Okay.
Commissioner Amar.
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Commissioner Vice Chair Burt.
Aye.
Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, to staff, is there any late correspondence?
Yes, we received late correspondence, and everything that was received was posted to the website under the Document Center.
Okay. And I'd like to review the consent calendar. Are there items on the consent calendar?
Yes, there are a couple items on the agenda that draft minutes, and they can be approved in one motion if someone would like to make one.
Okay. Somebody willing to make a motion?
I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
And I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burt,
Aye.
and Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, with that, we'd like to move into the public hearing. We're going to start off with agenda item 7.1, which I have to recuse myself for, and I'll be turning over the chair to Vice Chair Burt for this item. So, continue on.
Okay. So the item on the agenda is the consideration, discussion, and possible action to approve the demolition permit to Joe Walsh to demolish 3 existing buildings, the auto showroom, the barn and the garage, asphalt and concrete, as well as light poles and other necessary features in the former Sonoma Truck and Auto site located at 870 Broadway. And can we have the staff report, please?
Absolutely. Nice to see everybody. This has been a long-awaited project from the community. Everyone has been anxiously watching the site over the past few years to see what is going to happen. And before the commission this evening is the first step in that process. So as you mentioned, the project site is 870 Broadway, and the requested permit is a demolition permit. The project site is at the corner of East MacArthur and Broadway. The site's 1.86 acres and has been used for auto sales and rentals from 1925 until 2011, and it's been vacant since that time. There are 3 primary buildings that are going to be proposed for demolition. There's the 6,000 square foot auto showroom, a 3,000 square foot building that looks like a barn that's been used for storage, and automotive paint shop, and there's also a 1,000 square foot wood framed garage building. Large areas of the site have been paved and were previously used for vehicle storage. It's really tiny, but the surrounding land uses to the north are office and zoned mixed use all the way around. We have commercial to the south, residential to the east, and commercial and residential to the west. So none of the development standards really apply because we are proposing to take everything down. as everyone's aware, this is the former truck and auto site, and it has been visual blight for several decades at this time. There are numerous code enforcement violations at the site, and we have Bob Smith, our city prosecutor, to provide some information to the Design Review Commission about the existing violations. The project site is also a registered cleanup site with the California Department of Toxic Substance Control. So, and the applicant is proposing to demolish everything at the time, and they entered into contract on the property on November 2nd, and just would like to thank them for their quick work to bring this before the commission and hopefully move this project forward. And I've got a few photos to show the state of the buildings. And I'll let, Bob, are you on?
Let me let him talk here.
There have been people living in the buildings. There's evidence of fires being started, lots of damage and rubbish. Bob, are you on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, would you like me to, I can give you a quick overview of code enforcement's historic experience with this property.
That would be great.
It started maybe 3-4 years ago when Sonoma created this code enforcement position, which I am lucky enough to fill. And one of the first things we had was a call for trespass activity on the subject property. And it was significant use by juveniles and transient population. And let's see if I can start my, now, I should have warned you, I'm not pretty, so, you know, I don't want it to take away. How about this? Then it won't shine so much in your face. So anyway, yeah, we had juveniles down there drinking, and one of the juveniles, a young woman, was so intoxicated that she was passed out on the floor of this place and actually had to be, I believe, airlifted to Oakland to treat her for alcohol toxicity. The issue with these buildings, and it's been the same over the last 3 or 4 years, it's always same request. Hey, can you get the owners to clean it up? Hey, can you get them to lock it up? And we do that. And this is like, I don't know, the 4th time that we've had somebody out there. And I think the problem is that you have non-resident owners who own this property, so they're not on the property. And you have buildings that, according to the building department, may be sound. There may not be any risk of falling over, which I grant you, okay, so they are, but they are in extreme state of dilapidation. They're accessible if you're inclined to access them, which kids aren't. In fact, when Trevor and I went out there a couple of months ago, the buildings look secure, but when we were inside, you push against a sheet of plywood over the window, they open up. So people are still gaining access out there. I think that it's impossible for a non-resident to secure those buildings in such a manner as they can't be accessed. And my concern, it may be uniquely mine, but I'm not really concerned about these buildings falling down on somebody. I'm concerned that a juvenile or transient is going to find a way to squeeze themselves in, which they've been doing, and they're not going to be able to get out if something goes wrong inside the building, specifically a fire. The old wood building in the back is dry wood, unpainted, would go up like a torch. And I'm really worried because there was clear evidence to us of campfires, fire activity in the buildings previously by people who would go in there try to stay warm. Well, we're looking ahead at very cold weather. I think that's going to maybe drive some more activity inside, like these buildings. And I think that every day these buildings stay up is another day that some juvenile or some transient person is at risk. And albeit maybe the probability is low, but in my mind, if you weigh the risk that is of bringing the building down now as opposed to later, because I don't see any reasons why they don't come down. You guys know better than me, but nobody wants those buildings and they don't have any historic significance. So the question is, do we do it now or do we make them go through a process simply because we have respect for the process? Well, I have respect for the process, but I really think that the damage to the process by approving this for demolition now is way outweighed by the risk of somebody, specifically juveniles, dying in a fire there. It's the setup for a ghost ship. And maybe it won't happen. And maybe it's a 3% or a 2% or 1% chance. I don't want it. Not on my watch. So I am asking that and supporting the demolition of these properties as quickly as possible. Thank you. I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Are there any questions from the commission? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for your presentation.
Right,
Thank
I-
you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bob. So just to summarize, so the demolition permit would authorize the demolition of building 1, 2, and 3. And, oops, can you, no worries. As well as the asphalt and concrete on site and some miscellaneous items like light poles and some other features. Now here is the proposed demolition plan. The application package is pretty substantial, so there are pre-demolition reports outlining where hazardous materials lay. The applicant's going to need to get permits from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District and all of the other regulatory jurisdictions that's required as conditions of approval, and I believe they're already in the process of doing that. So Bob touched on the potential historic nature of the site, and just want to spend a moment discussing that. And also just want everyone to know that we've been working with the Sonoma Historical Society on this. So they have reviewed the application, they reviewed the Page and Turnbull letter, and they worked with the applicant on the condition of approval number 11, which requires some of the photo documentation and preservation as far as that goes. But they did not raise any concerns about the proposed project. So the project dates back to 1864 when it was developed as a college that later served as Sonoma's first public high school. Through the conversion to the auto sales lot in the 20s, some of the structures associated with the school were either torn down or substantially modified. The recorded history of the site and thorough analysis was done in a historic resource evaluation that was commissioned by the prior owner as part of the Sonoma Gateway project. That historic resource evaluation was peer reviewed by the city of Sonoma. We hired Orager and Associates who conducted a peer review. There have also been several additional rounds of review that happened during the Gateway appeal process. So we did not require a new historic resource evaluation. What the applicant did is they had Page and Turnbull, who's a very reputable consulting firm, review all of the documents and provide a determination whether or not a new one needed to be done. And they determined it did not, and that the proposed project did not affect any historic structures. And so that letter of consistency from Page and Turnbull is in the agenda packet, as well as analysis of the CEQA exemption and how it pertains to the historic resources and all that. So a condition of approval 11 requires that the applicant create a photo record of the documents and present the record to the Sonoma Valley Historical Society and the Sonoma League for Historic Preservation. That the applicant save the stones from the barn foundation to be reused in the landscaping or architectural feature of the future development. And that the Sonoma Valley Historical Society and Sonoma League for Historic Preservation be invited on site to tour the property prior to demolition. And here are the findings of approval for the demolition permit. Are there any questions?
Do you have any idea on timing?
Microphone.
Sorry. Any predictions around timing?
I don't. I'll defer that to the applicant.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any further questions? Okay. Ready for the applicant? And can you please state your name and address for the record?
Good evening, Joe Walsh with Lat 33 Capital. I live at 7001 North Scottsdale Road. Actually, that's our corporate office. And I represent the owner of 870 Broadway. And we have a presentation. Can you hear me okay?
Oh,
Okay, thank you, Wendy. Thanks, Christina. Mr. Smith actually covered about half of my presentation, so I will be a little more brief than I was. But we're very excited that the company has acquired the parcel. For everyone that probably knows it, the same owner of MacArthur Place Hotel, Lat 33 Capital, is the owner of this parcel through a single-purpose entity, 870 Broadway. The parcel was acquired when it came back on the market after the last couple development projects didn't go forward, and we're very excited to work to clean the parcel up and then work on future plans sometime in the future. Page 2. Okay, can you go a little further? There we go. Mr. Smith explained it quite well. We were in the middle of a transaction, and the company had a purchase and sale agreement with the former owner when we got this nice notice of violation, and it was in the paper about the site not being cleaned up. The notices of violation are quite sincere when you get them, so I immediately contacted Mr. Smith. He was great, met on site. Then he brought in Trevor Smith, who we've worked with before. We did a complete tour. The violations that were given in the notice, once we acquired the property, we corrected within a week. They were basically paint and pickup and cleaning and things like that. More important was the safety issues. So it was kind of great to have the fire marshal and the chief building, or the chief code enforcement city prosecutor walking the site. Everything he said totally was there. We've worked to re-secure the buildings, but it's obvious that over time people have been in those buildings that don't belong in the buildings. Anyway, so we'll get into that in a moment. In November, the parcel was closed upon. We immediately corrected the items that were on the list, and we applied for this demo permit. It was the meeting with Mr. Smith, Robert Smith, and Trevor Smith that really opened our eyes. We had planned on cleaning the site up quickly, but after seeing some of the safety-related issues, we have worked quickly to get this permit in. In December 1st, we started with a community outreach. We went to everyone within 500 feet of 870 Broadway, as well as the hotel. And we also have a good database of neighbors. It was a great event. We met some new neighbors we hadn't met before. Everybody wants to know what the development is on the site, and the answer is we don't have a concept for development. When the time comes for a concept for development, we'll of course involve the community, the design review, the planning commission, and everyone. We have a couple big steps to take first, and the first one is the cleanup of the site and removal of the hazards, get rid of the blight. The second one is it's under the review of the Department of Toxic Soil Containment, so we have some cleanup to do. Next page. So I'm here to request for a demo permit. The permit basically has three primary purposes that you've heard. We want to reduce the danger of fire from accidental fire. We as owner really don't want to have site hazards. Demoing the site and the hard improvements will assist in expediting the cleanup of the soils, which I'll talk about in a bit. And obviously we want to improve the community aesthetics, which I think is the largest comment that we heard from all of our neighbors. Christina did a great job of explaining the site. There's three buildings. Building 1 you all see when you drive by. That was the old auto showroom. Building 2 is the one where there were questions of historic resources. Mr. Smith is actually, or Mr. Woods, sorry, I have all these very basic names. Mr. Woods is our legal counsel. He's going to give a little bit of update on the historic resources also. And then building 3. So next one. Really, I don't need to reiterate everything he just said. There's no fire suppression in any of the buildings. Building 2 is completely a wooden structure. There's open roofs, holes in floors in the buildings, while they may be structurally sound or not fit for occupancy. And there's photographs of where someone attempted to break in. There was a stick there. I don't know if you can see it. and that's a photograph of the barn. Next slide, please. Okay, with us is Joe Neely. Joe Neely is with GHD. He is the principal geologist with our environmental firm. We just joined them. They just joined us about 2 weeks ago, and we've entered into a agreement with the DTSC for site cleanup. The primary issue, as you probably know, is it used to be automotive services, so it's basically contamination of soil related to those activities. Of course, those buildings are quite old, and the use of lead paint was quite common, so it's more than likely that the lead paint that was on the walls over time has been in drip lines, and there will be some soil remediation. Everything that we've read in the preliminary endangerment assessment says all of the issues are contained to the site. None of the issues seem to go beyond the site. The timeline, it's probably an 18-month process. We've just started the scoping meeting. We did that last week with the DTSC. Demoing the buildings and the structures really help us move the process forward because there's going to be some soil remediation of the lead that's in the soil, and there's some additional delineation and testing that has to happen. Next up. We want to improve the aesthetics. You can see the outside. So we've done some basic cleanup, so I think it looks better, but still, if you're the first time driving by it, I don't know if everyone remembers the first time that you came to the town, you've probably grown up here, and saw the site. It certainly is not a great representation of the community. Next one. Christina went through the demo plan, but just to answer a couple questions. On the buildings are 1, 2, 3, sort of the hashed areas, those are the hard surfaces, that's the 39,000 square feet. So the demo plan will be remove all the buildings, remove the slabs. Building number 2 is the one that has the stone, so those stones would be retained. That was a condition of approval. That's a very good idea. So we have to figure out how to get the mortar off them, but those stones are quite beautiful. Remove the asphalt, remove the fencing, light poles. There's even a tree house in the back. There's all kinds of things there. Protective measures, no soil can be removed from the site. That's a DTSC commission. We had the scoping meeting. We walked out with our project manager, Nathan Unangst, and he's basically approved the demo plan. He has made the condition, obviously the soils don't get removed, and we can't really do grading, which we wouldn't do anyway. We would have, of course, a stormwater protection plan in place. I met with the arborist the other day. There's some nice monument trees on the site that hopefully after demolition you'll be able to see. They're kind of behind all the buildings. We'll protect the trees, dust control, of course, repurposing the building. I saw a public comment about advance notice to the neighbors, great idea. So with approval of a permit, we of course will notify the neighbors to make sure we don't have any disruption of their businesses. And then the Bay Area Quality Management District, that's a mouthful. We did the studies, building 1 has asbestos. So there's an abatement process that you've seen, the guys in the spacesuits and all that. So we would have that work done first. Next one. Okay, what would it look like post-demolition? It's our goal to make the property safe, secure, and as visually appealing as possible. So the thought would be in the yellow areas, install a powder-coated chain link fence. I think 6 feet is the security height. We could possibly pull that back from the street to give it a little distance from the sidewalk. Repurpose the barn foundation stones on the site, do that somehow attractively, or keep them for future development. Right now, everybody hangs, and it's usually small businesses and nonprofits, they're hanging signs on the fences. I think everyone would probably appreciate if we said in the future not to do that with approval of the project. And then, of course, regular scheduled landscape and lot cleaning. So the goal is it looks like a natural area and it doesn't, look like an old used car lot, and it's as visually appealing as possible. Okay, and then Mr. Woods is going to address the historic resources.
Thank you, Joe.
Thank you. Can you state your name and address, please, for the record?
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, I'm Michael Woods. I'm an attorney for Lat 33. My office is at 846 Broadway, next door to the subject site, so I have a keen interest from that perspective as well as a professional one, and I live in the city of Sonoma on 1st Street West. We were aware with working with Christina and the previous history of the property of the potential concern for historic resources on the site. I went back and reviewed the 2012 historic resource evaluation that was prepared by DRHPC Historical Consulting, and then the city's peer review study done by Tom Morgan Associates in 2017, and also the Page and Turnbull letter that my client obtained just last month. And the evidence in your record for this item includes the conclusion from all three of those historic resource consultants engaged by three different parties or entities that reached the same conclusion. The demolition of the structures on this property would not implicate any impact on historic resources. There was the old college building, Cumberland College building, dating back to the 1860s, as was pointed out in the staff report. It's been destroyed and reconstructed several times over the years. Really, the only thing left that would have some historic significance would be the stones in the foundation, and consistent with the conditions of approval, we'll be repurposing those stones and using them as best we can on the site. So I think, given the conclusions regarding historic resources, the CEQA categorical exemption, section 15301L, that staff intends to suggest that you rely upon, is appropriate, and the project is categorically exempt under CEQA. And I'd also like to thank Bob Smith for his comments. You hope that nothing like the worst case scenario ever happens. But I have another client who recently owned property that had some residential structures on it. It was just outside the city limits. They had cleared them out of all tenants. They had taken all reasonable steps to secure the property. And during the winter, cold weather, transients got in the building, set a fire, and it damaged the neighbor's property next door. So we would greatly appreciate the Commission's expeditious approval of the permit, and we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions?
I had, but I think they've answered them. I was curious about the trees and then the grading.
Do you use your microphone?
Oh, sorry. I was curious about the trees and the grading, but those have been addressed, so I'm fine.
Any other further questions?
All right, thank you very
so
much.
Okay, so we'll bring it back to the commission. Are there any any further
Well,
questions?
first,
that you have?
since
I wanted to check real quick. Trevor, did you have anything to add? Trevor Smith, Fire Marshal, are you awake? He must be okay then.
Yep, I don't think he
All
has
right.
anything to say.
Oh, there he is. Do you have anything to add, Trevor?
You should be able to speak now. You should be able to speak now.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I wasn't being heard before. I was going to say that I echo the comments of Bob Smith from Code Enforcement in regards to the activity on the property. It seems that people, and especially over the years, have been entering the property. From the fire department's perspective, while we echo those comments, one of our concerns is the safety of our staff in the event there's a fire incident there. In an abandoned building, we don't have to put our fire personnel into a building to risk their lives to extinguish a fire because we can do it safely from the outside. But if children are playing on the property or unhoused people are living or residing on the property, then that increases the risk to both our personnel and the safety of the community. So removing that attractive nuisance in a timely manner would be beneficial. And if anyone has any other questions, I can answer those.
Any further questions? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your comments.
No problem.
So we need to open it up to the public for comment. I don't see anyone stepping up to the podium, and no one on Zoom has their hand up.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public comment and bring it back to the commission. So we'll start with Commissioner O'Mara.
Well, I'd like to thank the applicants for taking the project on. I'd like to congratulate you for acquiring the property. And thank you again for being so expedient to start the huge project of cleaning up the site. I agree that it is a blight, and I have no issues with the development, the demolition application as it's been presented.
Thank you, Chair Burt, Vice Chair Burt. Again, thank you, applicants. It's yes, has been a visual blight on the street for a long, long time. It's obvious that work has already begun there. I've seen a lot of positive changes. Thank you from our whole community for taking this on. It's a huge project and maybe huger than you thought it was going to be. From listening, it seems like already you've just done so much background work, analysis, evaluation, review, and I have no problem with the application as submitted.
Thank you, Vice Chair Burt. Yeah, I agree too. You know, considering there's been 3 HREs done, and 2 HREs and a supplemental one, a current one, which is kind of really important to this commission, and they all panned out the same way. That's great, given the state of the property, the potential hazards. You know, obviously, you know, the better option would be to remove that. I was glad to hear that the trees are going to remain, and I didn't even think about the stones, but that's really great to have that into this this demolition process as well, because I think keeping that little bit of history will be a really nice component when things are done. And just finally, the group that's doing this project and all the things that we've done with MacArthur in the past have always been done to a really high standard, and so I'm very confident in the group and in the direction that they're going to move this property in. I look forward to there being something that, you know, everybody is going to be happy about, and seeing something actually developed there in time. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm okay with the application as submitted.
Thank you. And Commissioner Jahami?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your detailed explanation about the site cleaning and taking care of the hazmat material. I think that's what all of us would be concerned about, dealing with that type of old building and contaminated. And I'm glad that you have a plan to take care of those. Other than that, I don't have any comment. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to echo everything from the commission, and I'm so happy you purchased the property and that you have a plan. And I also commend you for reaching out to the neighbors. I know they're very active, and they're going to be very active through the whole time. And 18 months is going to go by very, very quickly. And I already seen all the improvements you already have done to the property. So we look forward to seeing what will happen there. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And so I'll bring it back for a vote,
A motion.
for a motion.
I move that we accept the application as submitted with the conditions of approval.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
So moved.
I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Randall,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Drew,
Aye.
and Vice Chair Burt.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We'll take a 2-minute break.
Ignore that picture. There we go. So the proposed project is design review and sign permit applications for new monument sign, new garage and security fencing. The sign would replace the existing Don & Sons dual-faced monument sign. It would be 6 feet tall, 6.3 feet wide, and 2 inches thick. It would have a concrete base with a metal frame and corten steel facing on both sides with white lettering. And the letters would be 10.5 and 5 inches tall. The garage would be constructed on top of an existing parking lot, so it's not displacing any parking spaces. It's just providing shelter for the existing, for their car vehicles and work trucks, things like that. So the garage would be 1,800 square feet and would have a maximum height of 20 feet and would just provide them with important equipment security. There are also some restrooms in there and amenities for their employees, a little patio in the back. And the fence would be 6 feet tall and constructed of metal panels, and would be located 42 feet in front of the garage and would provide security and screening. Here's the site plan. So the neighborhood to the east is residential, and this is zoned commercial. Here is the proposed structures and the elevations, west and east, and the proposed colors. And we have the elevation of the monument sign. And the project meets all of the applicable development standards for the garage. It's commercial, so we do not have any setbacks. As far as the sign is concerned, each sign face would be 28.5 square feet, and the aggregate square footage would be 42.75. For that second face, our code has a little wonky caveat where it's a certain percentage, so you don't just double it. There's no proposed illumination, and they meet the aggregate sign criteria, the size maximum, as well as the number of signs. So we have both the sign permit findings and the design review findings. Are there any questions?
So any questions for staff? Is the applicant available? Can you present yourself, tell us your name, address, and give us a little background on your project?
Yes, is this on?
Yep.
Seth Mays, representing GMH Builders Incorporated, along with GMH Holdings LLC, as the property owner. Located 19150 Sonoma Highway. Here to answer any questions. We've retained Strata AP here in Sonoma, quality architect, along with Well Design as a design build signage contractor, all to ensure we have a quality product in the end.
Any questions from the commission to the applicant?
I have a quick question. What's the timeline? What's your timeline on the project?
As soon as possible. Speaking from a contractor. No, we intend to submit for building permit right away upon your approval, and start the work as soon as we have a building permit, which we hope is in the kind of first of sometime in February timeframe, and have it constructed by April.
Are there going to be any traffic issues during the construction, since it's on that main road?
We actually have the benefit of kind of a shared driveway that we have an agreement, not an informal agreement with Nelson, who we bought the property from. There is an access point, a driveway cut from Lomita. So in the event that there is any large trailers or any sort of deliveries for the project, that's a softer entrance and exit point.
Excellent. Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one, and it's Corten steel, is that the steel that rests to a certain degree and then stops? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, are there any public comments?
Yeah, I don't see anyone else coming to the podium, and no one has raised their hands on Zoom.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to close the meeting to the public. Bring back to commission for discussion. How about Commissioner Amar?
The sign is very attractive aesthetically. It's not going to be illuminated, so I don't really have too much to say about that, except for it's a really pretty design. So good job. And
It will have uplight.
oh, an uplight. Okay. Let's see. And the garage is also, I think it's an aesthetically pleasing design. And I think it's going to fit right into that space. I'm glad that you guys are going to be taking over that property, and you do really good work. And so I think that the work you do on your own office and garage will be top-notch as well. I do like the idea of the high privacy lattice that you were proposing. I think any extra measure for the neighbors right behind you it would be really good for them.
And just to add, we have reached out to the neighbor and discussed it. And
Okay.
they're
Great, thank you for doing that. Thank you very much for keeping those oak trees as well. And I think that you've prepared a really good application, and I don't have any other issues as it's presented.
Commissioner Randolph?
Micro.
Very nicely put together package application. It's so nice when the signs are within the limits and we don't have to pick on you for to change them. I agree with Commissioner Amar about the aesthetics of the project. Very appealing, and I don't have a problem with your application. Appreciate it.
Mr. Johnson?
Thank you, Chair Cormany. I agree with both commissioners. Straightforward application. Sign is going to fit in really well there. Looks great. The building that you're proposing blends in with all the existing structures. I don't see any problem with that at all. And I do, again, will echo that, the fencing in the back for the screening is a nice thing. And again, that you've reached out to the neighbors and have them somewhat involved, or at least, able to be involved if they choose to be so. So I like your project, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Vice Chair Burt?
I agree with all the commissioners. Everything fits where it should be. I like your sign. It's very nice. And I love the fact that you're adding an area for your workers, to get cleaned up and having an area for them to, to have lunch and all that. So I think that's wonderful. And you're continuing what you're doing now. And especially on Highway 12 with the screen and all that, it's gonna look really nice. So thank you for the project.
Okay, and upon review of this, I would like to compliment all of you for, obviously there was consideration in making it blend in and be part of the existing structure, and the colors and everything seems well thought out and pre-planned ahead. Signing works. I think it's going to be a great use of space. Didn't even realize there's that much space there, but now you look at the site plan, it makes sense to add the building. So I think it's very well designed and should be successful for you. Welcome you to proceed forward. So close that and go to, would somebody like to present a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the application based on the findings and subject to approval. Findings and conditions.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes, Commissioner Amar,
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Burt,
Aye.
and Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Congratulations and good luck on your project.
Thank you.
Okay, move on to item 7.3. Can we have a staff report, please?
All right, we're just letting the applicant rejoin as a panelist. We're sending a request. There's one. Do you have this video off?
And do your presentation.
All right, so the proposed project before you is a recommendation to the Planning Commission for a design review application. There's also a variance component due to the lack of covered parking. And so just wanted to be very clear that it's a recommendation this evening. And this is a residential development project at 859 Austin Avenue. Located right near MacArthur Place. We're in that same neck of the woods. The project site totals 7,260 square feet and is a long, narrow property that backs up to Nathanson Creek in the southwest corner. And existing improvements on the lot include a 1,132 square foot single family residence. The original portion of the house was constructed in 1945 with several additions later on. The variance is a result of two very large redwood trees that are located in the southeast corner near Austin Avenue. So there's currently no covered parking on site. And in order to put a garage or carport where they would have their covered parking spot, it would be damaging to these two beautiful redwood trees. So the surrounding development is all single-family residence and zoned low-density residential. We're located in the Central East planning area. And the required setbacks, there's a 20-foot front, 5-foot minimum for side, 15-foot combined, and the rear setback is 20 feet. In addition, because of the proximity to the creek, the applicant put together a survey of the top of bank in Nathanson Creek, and there's an additional 30-foot setback from the creek as well. So it really constrains the development on the site quite a bit. So the applicant proposes to demolish the existing single-family residence and construct a 1,618 square foot single-family home with 781 square feet of covered porches. The applicant did provide a historic resource evaluation, which determined that it's not a historic resource under the California Environmental Quality Act. And as I mentioned, they've designed the site to comply with the existing setbacks and the creek setbacks. The proposed colors and exterior materials would include a standing seam metal roof, painted board and batten fiber cement siding, painted Benjamin Moore white. Aluminum windows and doors would be aluminum clad wood, that's ebony, and the porch would be cast in place concrete. Here's the site plan. You can see the little dotted blue line in the upper left corner, that's the top of bank, and the green line is the setback from the creek. And I think you can see in the front where the canopy of those redwood trees is, going over the parking spot. We have some elevations. This is the proposed north and east. And the materials board for the roof, windows and doors, and the siding, and the porch. We have the design review findings. And again, that action this evening would be a recommendation to the Planning Commission to approve the design review subject to findings and conditions of approval. And I believe we have the applicant on the line as well. Are there any questions before I turn it over to him? Okay.
I have one. So in my review notes, I put carport question mark. Can you explain the variance and how that works when you don't have, or is that a variance because of not providing covered parking, or a little more detail on that,
Correct.
please?
So our code requires one covered parking space per single family house. And so as this is an application coming before Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission, we look at every project anew. My guess is that there was a garage that at some point was filled in. So the proper course of action would be for them to either incorporate a garage or a carport into the project. However, doing so where there's the existing curb cut would damage the redwood trees. So we do have a process called a variance process that state mandated findings that there have to be circumstances that are unique to this property that prevent the implementation of the code in a uniform manner. And so staff's interpretation is these redwood trees are enormous and they're right where the existing parking space is. So that's a very unique circumstance to this particular site. And then they're also constrained with that creek setback in the rear.
Thank you.
So these trees being as big as they are, is there going to be some problem with the new construction and roots and?
I don't believe so. They're really designing, they're staying within the existing footprint and going out back. So no, they're not proposing to put a concrete driveway in or anything like that. But they're really beautiful trees.
Thank you for the details. And you mentioned the applicant is available online, is that
Yes.
correct?
Hello? You can hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead and state your name and tell us a little bit about your project.
Okay, hi, good evening. My name is Andrew Feldon. I'm a architectural designer working with Lindsay Atkinson, who is the homeowner. So this is a rebuild for Lindsay. Basically the existing house built in 1945 has been added on to a few times, and not necessarily in a sympathetic way, but we like the scale of the house and the streetscape, including the large redwood trees. So the proposed rebuild basically takes its cues from the existing house as far as a front porch that will go all the way across the front of the house, which is what the original house had before it was remodeled. And the addition to the square footage of the house will be out the back of the house. So from the street side, you really won't see any change to the scale of the house. Being so close to the creek, we do have the 30-foot setback, but we also have a FEMA floodway zone. So when Nathanson Creek floods, that whole area can be covered in water to a degree. So part of the rebuild also includes adapting to the current FEMA regulations for building in such a location, so that we'll have flow-through crawl space vents. The house floor level will be raised approximately 9 inches to allow water to flow essentially unimpeded under the house. So in addition to just rebuilding the house, we are adapting to the current FEMA regs. We will be using the hardy board, cement board siding. So we've got some fire hardening. We'll be using the standing seam roofing. And basically, again, this is a small single family cottage, and Lindsay would like to live here for many years, and that's kind of the short story of our proposal.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Are there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none.
We're just promoting Lindsay in case you wanted to say anything as well.
Lindsay, would you like to make any comments or provide any feedback?
Him down so Lindsay could speak.
Yeah. We have 2 monitors. I apologize. I'm here. I live in Sonoma currently. I moved here about 1.5 years ago to be closer to my family. So this is very much a family project of ours. I'm working with my mother on the project, and we just fell in love with Austin so much. And I don't know that we would want to change a lot of it. We love the natural aspect of the street, the charm of the home. We're really just looking to update it and kind of bring it to life, or bring it to current standards as a modern cottage or bungalow.
Thank you, we appreciate your feedback. Are there any public comments?
Yes, there is. Mark Perry, you can go ahead and speak.
Thank you, Mark Perry. I'm a preservation. Can you hear me? We're good?
Yes, we
I'm a
can.
preservation architect and architectural historian that provided the historic resource review. I wanted to clarify some language. I think it was a discrepancy between the planning and the project documents in that I reviewed this as a rehabilitation. There is demolition aspects that I understand, but it is not a demolition, wholesale demolition of the property. That's what I think the planner presented. Andrew, could you clarify a bit?
Yeah, we are going to try to save as much of the foundation and reuse that as possible because of the flood zone regulations. We do have to manipulate the floor framing to raise it up above the maximum flood zone elevation. So yes, we're going to work with as much of the existing floor as we can, though incorporating the requirements for FEMA.
So my historic report calls it a renovation, but it is basically reconstruction at an existing foundation. I think I just needed to make that clarification. It doesn't change any of my findings. It's a fine project. It looks well, and it certainly reflects the original building. And its design intents are better than the building that was there. So those are my comments.
Thank you, we appreciate that. Are there any other public comments?
No.
Okay, seeing none, we're going to close it to the public now and bring back to the commission. Start with Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Chair Cormany. Thank you for your presentation. This property, I'm sure lots of us went through it when it was for sale. I think I've been in it a couple times. It's such a beautiful location, and it's such a there's such a charming aspect to the land itself. So I was excited really when I saw your project. I think you are, as you said in your personal comments, you're attempting to retain all those aspects of the space while bringing it up to modern standards for a cottage here in Sonoma. So I was really happy about your project, and thank you for explaining the flooding aspect. I have a friend who lives on a different street, but also Nathanson, because it does wind around. And yeah, that water can really get up there when we have a lot of rain. So I was interested in your detailed explanation about the flooding aspect. So thank you for bringing the project forward. And those are my comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Cormany. Agree. I'm looking over the application, the supporting HRE information. I feel the project's met, the basic requirements needed. I think it's certainly going to be an enhancement to that piece of property and in the neighborhood. I don't with the trees. I'm okay with the variance as well. I hadn't thought about that, but that makes perfect sense, and I'm glad that they're looking out for those trees that way. So with that, I think it's a great application, and I'm okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair Burt.
Austin is one of my favorite streets in that little corner there, and I think what you're doing is you're bringing back the charm and making it even better. I do love the project. I have no issue with that at all, and look forward to seeing it come through and recommending it to the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Commissioner Marr.
I agree with my fellow commissioners. This is a wonderful little lot, and the home definitely was a little bit awkward, and I feel like you're addressing many issues all at once, and the project was presented very nicely, and I like your design choices. It feels very much like a modern cottage, as the applicant suggested. I like the materials, and I think the scale is very good for the site, and I have no other comments.
Thank you. And I'd like to close with, in reviewing this, as soon as I see anything on the east side with demo, I'm always waiting for a 4,000 square foot house to go in its place. And I'd like to compliment you for keeping this into realistic size I think it's awesome. I think the porch configuration is really a lovely aspect of it. I think you get a lot of, both the front and back porches design is nice. It's a great aesthetic. And overall, it seems like keeping the integrity of the original. I compliment you on that. I think it's going to be very nice. The variance is interesting to me. That's kind of news, but it makes sense. So overall, I think it's a very nice and well thought out plan, and wish you success with it. Can we ask for a motion by one of the commissioners, please?
I move that we accept the application as submitted in compliance with the what's my phrase, Christina?
To recommend an approval of the design review, subject to findings and conditions of approval to the planning commission. What she said.
Exactly.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Amar?
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Vice Chair Burt?
Aye.
Chair Carmody?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes 5-0.
Congratulations and good luck with your project. It's going to be a wonderful addition. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 7.4, please. Staff report.
Can you please promote Mary and Anne? Thank you. All right, we have a lot of really cool projects tonight. The current project to discuss is for the Edge Restaurant located at 139 East Napa Street. This is the old Ren's Thai food. Located right downtown across from Cafe La Haye. The project site is 6,726 square feet, located on the south side of East Napa Street between the Sonoma Plaza and 2nd Street East. It's currently the Edge Restaurant, as it's surrounded by Cafe La Haye to the north, residential that is zoned medium density residential to the south. To the east is Sojourn Cellars. And, oops, not Three Sticks. Pardon that copy and paste error. We're in the downtown planning district. The zoning is a little bit tricky. On one map it shows it's medium density residential, but we have a memo from the prior planning director confirming that it is commercial. And there are no required setbacks because of that. So the applicant is proposing to replace the existing gate and replace the existing canopy that covers the side yard to provide outdoor seating west of the building. The original canopy was approved, permitted, and constructed in the early 2000s and was really just designed for shade. It's 12 feet 3 inches high and covers an area about 20 by 46 feet in the western side yard. So the new canopy would provide additional weatherizing due to year-round outdoor dining, the current climate of the world. So the height would be about the same and would be set back from the sidewalk quite a ways, 41 feet and 21 feet from the front porch of the building. The new canopy material will be translucent and insulated and gently sloped for some structural integrity as well. The existing gate is a black iron vertical railing that's used for security purposes. The replacement gate would be set back a little bit from the wall to help with visibility. And the proposed materials are similar to the signage on the building in the rusted steel and would already be partially obscured by some existing landscaping, so that would help to buffer that visually. And the height of the gate is about the same. The site plan's a little bit tricky to see, but the dark area is the canopy. This is a little bit more helpful. I have the pictures and the colors. And there's the materials board. And so the application is design review application, and we have their basic design review findings. And would if there are any questions for staff I have the applicant to make a presentation as well.
Are there any questions from the commission staff?
Christina, do we have, sorry? Do we have a picture of the new gate?
I will let the applicant.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine.
I have a question about the gate too.
I
In
think the metal. I think this is the gate.
okay, because it was on page A6, there was a gate and it said option A and option B, and it looks like there's a difference in height. Is that part
I
of the
will let
equation?
them. I'll let the applicant speak to that.
Okay. Is the applicant available? Meet them virtually?
Hi, this is Mary Dooley. I'm the architect for the Edge Restaurant.
Great, thanks. Can you tell us a little bit about your project?
Yes, thank you. As you know, covered outdoor dining has been a necessary aspect of many restaurants' continued success over the last couple of years. And the change in this canopy is to make it all weather so that year-round dining can occur and be more comfortable. The panel that we want to use is waterproof and also insulated, so this can also help with outdoor dining on a hot afternoon. The project's intent is to replace an existing canopy in the same area, using the same square footage, but changing the material, because now it is just a shade structure and water can get through. And also the idea is to pull it back, pull the gateway back further from where the current gate is, so that the building corner, which is the Victorian stick style on the historic registry, has more prominence. And we are not intending to attach to the historic building in any way. So nothing will be touched in the installation of this canopy. What can I tell you? The colors of the structure are intended to match the trim color of the building so that it just blends, and the ceiling structure should be fairly unnoticeable until you're in the space, because it's over 40 feet back from the edge of sidewalk. Also in the same height, close to the same height of the existing canopy. And your question about the two different gate heights, there's a preference by the applicant to have the taller gate, in that it will provide some additional wind protection. But we were offering, and we didn't know how it would be received, and so we wanted to just show if there was any concern about that height, what it would be like to have a lower gate if that was a preference of the committee.
Okay. Are there questions for the applicant from the commission? Seeing none. I do have one. Can you tell me what the difference in height is between the two gates?
Yes, I think it's 3 feet. One is 7 feet and one is just under the eave. So one's about 10 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions for the applicant from the commission? Are there any public comments?
No.
That's easy. So we'll bring back the commission for discussion. We'll start this time with Commissioner Amar.
I was pleasantly surprised when I saw this project. I think that the gate is a very interesting feature, and it really is doing a lot of things all at once with some simple materials. So it's going to bring a modern aspect to this the Victorian home, and I'm fine with the taller gate, I think, as long as it wouldn't damage the home, the building in any way. and I trust that you'll make it all come together. I think it's a good focal point to guide people to that location. It is a little bit obscure at times to try to find it, I think. So having that kind of the signage on the gate is going to be a good feature. It's very aesthetically pleasing, and I like that it's going to bring that contemporary aspect to that location. And I have no problem with the weather shades. The color is good. I don't think it's going to be visible from the street in any way that would be unsatisfactory. And I think that's all I have to say about that. But the gate is, I like the gate. It's a good gate. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Vice Chair Burt.
Thank you for your application. And as far as the replacement of the canopy, you're just making a better version of what you have there. And the fact that you're not going to, where the other restaurants, you're over on the side, so you're not taking up any parking spaces and I also love the fact where you're located, because you are sort of off the beat, and it's just kind of really cool. I just love the whole aspect of that place. The gate itself, I'm also agree with Commissioner Amar as far as having the higher gate. I have no issue with that. Love the fact that it's going to be with the laser cut of the edge. That creates that cool aspect of the whole design and keeping the integrity of the Victorian. It's a good project, and look forward to it getting through.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you, Chair Cormany. Agreed. I mean, the materials, the colors, the aesthetics, all of the components to this project are really nice. I don't have any problems with this. This is pretty straightforward for me.
Thank you. Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair Cormany. Yes, I love this project. I've always been impressed with this building anyway, back when it was Rins and now what you've done with it. I love the bigger gate. I think it makes more of a statement, and it will give more visibility, as Vice Chair Burt commented. What was I going to say? Yeah. The new side yard with your new weathered material, I think will be a huge improvement and a lot more helpful for your diners. And I think this is just a fine project.
Thank you. And finally, I'd like to say, I think you're fortunate to have the space in today's world with COVID and what have you, to have that amount of outdoor dining and have that opportunity to utilize that is very fortunate. I think it makes a lot of sense to take that, to make it an all-weather. I like the idea of some skylights. It has some natural light, and the translucent white I think will be nice. Mm-hmm. My initial response to the gate was a little bit modern for the situation, and I kind of favor the lower version, but understanding the logic of wanting to have the higher version for wind protection, I'd be okay with that as well. And I also think we need to do what we can for our local merchants, particularly our restaurants, to make things accommodate our current world that we live in. With that, I think it's a really nice use of that space and have no objection to it. Would somebody like to create a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the application, subject to the findings and the conditions of approval.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Amar.
Aye.
Commissioner Randall.
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Aye.
Vice Chair Burt.
Aye.
And Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes.
Congratulations with your projects and good luck. Okay, we're moving on to our final item this evening, which is item 7.5. Can we get a staff report, please?
So I think on this one I'll recuse, since our alternate's here and give him a chance on the podium. This was one of the questionable properties, correct? Okay.
So Commissioner Johnson has chosen to recuse. We'll bring Commissioner Jeremy up to the dais. Okay, I think we're ready to continue with the staff report, please.
All right, we have another historic project downtown. This is design review for the El Dorado Hotel, located right on the northwest corner of the Sonoma Plaza. The project site is 18,570 square feet and is developed with the 27-room hotel, which also supports the El Dorado kitchen. It's in their downtown district and is zoned for commercial and in the historic overlay. The applicant proposes to replace some windows and doors, construct several shade structures in the inner courtyard adjacent to the pool, and some additional improvements to the pool area. The windows and doors on the restaurant portion of the building on the main floor would be replaced. This is the north facing on West Spain and the south facing in the courtyard, and they would match the existing windows and doors at the cafe at the north end. All the windows and doors would be painted white to match the existing, and there's some minor modifications to the existing curb planters in order to accommodate the door clearances, but there are no other modifications to the exterior of the building. Similar to the Edge proposal, we have some shade structures for outdoor dining, and this includes some in the dining courtyard and on the pool deck. There's a trellis structure with a permanent shade cloth at the east end of the dining courtyard, which would include steel posts and beams that would be painted white to match the existing color palette of the building. Another new shade structure would be at the west end of the dining courtyard, and similarly would have steel posts, be painted white, and have a retractable shade cloth. Another shade structure would be located on the west side of the pool deck with steel posts painted white and a permanent shade cloth. Each structure would be independent from the existing building and would be replacing existing cabana structures and an event tent. The pool improvements at the pool deck would be expanded to the east by relocating the existing fence line between the pool deck and the outdoor dining patio. The pool coping would be replaced and the existing pool deck would be resurfaced. A new wood raised furniture platform is proposed at the west end of the pool deck. So this structure is within the Sonoma Plaza National Historic Register and is designated as a non-contributing building. The records indicate that the structure was originally built in 1843 as a one-story adobe. It was remodeled in 1860 when a wood frame second story with a front-facing gable was added. A large portion of the building was destroyed in the 1906 earthquake and was rebuilt. According to the National Register, the building has been so substantially altered in recent decades that few historic features remain. And as stated in the application, the only modification to the existing building is the replacement of the windows, and the windows, I think, date back to the 80s and are not historic. This is kind of a tough site plan to see. But here are some pictures of the existing windows to be replaced. And the proposed colors and materials in the elevations. And we have the shade structures. This is the trellis at the courtyard dining area. And this is the retractable shade cloth. And the pool deck shade. We have the design review findings of approval, and staff's recommendation is to approve the design review subject to findings and conditions of approval. Are there any questions?
Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I'm assuming the applicant is available on the line because there's nobody else here, right?
Yes.
Hello, my name is Chris Dorman, and I'm the applicant with Dorman Associates. And I'm I think the presentation was pretty thorough. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has, but essentially we're just making some minor modifications and trying to enhance the ability for outdoor dining in COVID times. And so we're adding more shade structures in the middle of the building and replacing some existing trellises.
Are there any questions from the commission to the applicant? Seeing that, I have one. I'm curious about replacing the windows. Is there the motivation for it besides aesthetic, or what is the driver for that?
Those windows were replaced some time ago, and and they have an odd pattern. They're very busy, and the divided lights are really tight. And we're doing a little bit of an interior remodel inside, and we decided at this time that it would be a good opportunity to sort of unify the elevation.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Seeing none, I'll say, are there any public comments?
No.
This is getting really easy, isn't it? We'll bring it back to the commission for comments. Again, I'll start with Commissioner Moore.
I think this is very straightforward. Everything you've renovated so far, I've really enjoyed seeing come to fruition. I think it's very elegant and has that Sonoma charm to it, and I think the extra shade will be appreciated during the summertime, and I have no problems with the windows. Thank you.
Vice Chair Burt.
Putting that shade feature in that courtyard will really make a difference during the summer. And it's just really interesting to see how everyone has learned from last year and what they're doing now. There's a lot of thought because they've had experience of what works and what doesn't work. And it's obvious that that's what's been done here with your application. And as far as replacing the windows and having it match the existing windows, no issue with that. It's a great application.
Commissioner Randolph.
Thank you, Chair Cormany. It's always been a pleasure to see the projects that you bring forward for this property. You guys are great stewards of that property. You've done a lot with it over the years, and it shows, as has been mentioned earlier. I think these are really good improvements, and yes, we've learned a lot in 2020 and 2021. So it looks like you're planning ahead to be able to have permanent outdoor dining if needed. And I really like your approach and the flexibility with some permanent structures and some retractable. That's giving you a lot of flexibility as well. Yes, windows, I have no problem with that. And the pool situation looks very straightforward. So very nice application. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Jeremy.
Good, thank you very much. I agree that this is a very straightforward project and very clean application, and good luck with that.
Thank you. I agree with what everybody else has said previously. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I again want to support local restaurants, and the shade structures make a lot of sense. So I think it's very well presented and appreciate the attention to detail. Would somebody like to make a motion, please?
I'll make the motion to approve the application subject to the findings and conditions of approval.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Amar.
Aye.
Commissioner Randolph.
Aye.
Commissioner Jerome.
Aye.
Vice Chair Burt.
Aye.
Chair Cormany.
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously.
Congratulations and good luck with your project.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Johnson will be rejoining us. Okay, at this time I'd like to ask, are there any items for discussion to staff?
No.
Are there any issues or updates?
Yes, there is. Thank you for asking. So we will be having a meeting in January, on January 18th. That meeting, the beginning of the meeting is going to take the form of a joint city council, Design Review and Historic Preservation Commission. We're going to meet over in the EOC, and the city council is going to want to discuss with this commission the potential of reassigning the Design Review portion of the commission to the Planning Commission. And they'll go into more details about why that's necessary. Some of you attended the SB 9 presentation. And we're also going to talk about the Historic Train District.
We are, so we'll have Paige and Turnbull presenting the 3 districts that are within the historic overlay. So the Historic Train District was identified and funding allocated, I think, in 2017. So that is moving forward. We have the DPR forms and really excited to be moving that along. We also have a new district, the Sebastiani Cottages District. That was, again, I'm going to get the terminology all wrong, but at the cluster of housing on 4th Street East, I believe, and some other little side streets. And then we're going to be, I think, more formally identifying the Broadway district. It already existed, but I think there was some part of the process that had been overlooked, or they're redefining it. So we'll be bringing those forward, and the first of several initiatives we're working on with Paige and Turnbull.
Great. Anything further? With that, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. It is 7:28.
So then